it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Bittt.tb. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Friday, April 21st. It is 1 minute past 10 p.m. Eastern. I am live in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And I'm filling in for Matthew O'Han, who took the night off. Said, Tony, I can't make it on Friday. Matt, don't worry about it. I will be there. And I'm here. We're going to be with you for the next hour. Tonight's show, I think, is going to be really, really special because there's something we have to tackle right away. And we're going to do that. We're going to have a great conversation with Aaron Portzline of The Athletic. And afterwards, Andre Tourigny, the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. And also, he'll be coaching Team Canada at the World Hockey Championships. Their first game will be on May 12th. Versus Latvia. They're going to have a camp on May 5th, so no shortage of things to talk about with Andre Tourigny, from the Arizona Coyotes to Team Canada at the World Hockey Championships, to Connor McDavid, to the league, to Clayton Keller on his own team, who had an unbelievable season, to Connor Bedard, that and much more. We'll even ask him about Montreal Canadiens head coach Martin St. Louis. But before we get to that, let's get to my guest tonight. I reached out to him. He accepted the invitation, as he always does, to tell you the truth, because he and I go way back. We go way back when he used to work for, I think it was the Columbus Dispatch, and now he works with The Athletic. From The Athletic, Aaron Portzline, good evening.
Tony, we go way back.
We go way back. Do we have Aaron? Because I don't quite see your screen right now. I'm not sure if we're having a technical difficulty. You see me? And I don't see you. It's kind of weird. Okay, I'm not so sure why. Maybe we'll put you back in the green room and see what's going on here. Agnello and Sammy back at Master Control. All right, okay. I can't see Aaron for whatever reason. Boo, don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. You and I, we can't even see each other now. Boo, I don't know what's going on. All right, okay. Can anybody else see you?
I can see you, Tony.
All right, you can see me. I just want to make sure that everyone sees you.
Tony,
all
you
right,
look fantastic.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, anyway, don't worry about it, because at the end of the day, if I don't see you, I mean, it's okay. I'd like to see you, but right now, maybe it's a glitch, and maybe it's going to start working any minute now. All right, okay. It was a very eventful day today on Twitter. It was one of those days where I got woken up. Well, I was already awake, but I got text message after text message after text message, and what's going on in this and that or whatever. Okay, so let me just put the cards on the table here. So yesterday, I came across something, and it was like right before the show, probably give or take, I'm not so sure, half an hour before the show or whatever it was. Okay, actually, there you are. Okay, I got you now. Now I see you. Wearing the black top. Look at that. All right.
Now you're thinking, let me turn this camera back off again.
All right, okay. So nice to see you, Aaron. So, yesterday I came across something on Twitter, and all of a sudden pops up something on my feed, and it says in French, let me just get it here, if I can bring it up, and it says in French, it says, Matvei Michkov to Montreal, according to a journalist in Columbus. All right, okay. Now, I know the website. The website is Fox News kind of journalism. I've known it for a long time. But it doesn't mean that everything they publish is just a rumor or speculation or whatever. Sometimes they go with stuff that they hear and they report it. Okay, so I read it very, very quickly. And it's in French, but I read it and I try and translate and stuff like that. Okay, and here's the translation. All right, let's bring it up. All right, Matvei Michkov in Montreal, according to a Columbus journalist. Wow, Matvei Michkov in Montreal. The turn of a journalist from Columbus to point us in this direction. According to Aaron Portzline, the most reputable reporter covering the Blue Jackets, Columbus will select Will Smith in 4th place if they're not lucky and lose 2 places in the lottery. So Nick Bobrov will advise the Canadiens to select Michkov, especially since the Canadiens don't really care if he doesn't join, if the Russian doesn't come right away to play in Montreal. We always take the example of the Wild, who have never regretted having selected Kirill Kaprizov, who joined the team at 23 years of age. The possible banning of Matvei Michkov from leaving his country, while the rumor grows that Vladimir Putin will ban any young hockey player under a certain age from leaving the country, does not scare Bobrov, for the simple and good reason that he is a great friend of the organization of SKA St. Petersburg. Let's remember his words. I landed in Boston at 16. Without my parents, when the USSR broke up, it was a lot like Ukraine right now. There was a lot of uncertainty. The country was falling apart. He had an invitation in his pocket to play at a renowned college in the region, Belmont Hill, thanks to his contacts in the hockey world. His father, Sergei, was always involved in high-level hockey in St. Petersburg. He is now director of the local SKA Academy. Matvei Michkov in Montreal, according to a Columbus journalist. Once again, Nick Bobrov really thinks that his father could fix everything. He, who is very close to the owners of the team, Matvei Michkov in Montreal. Oh, that sounds good. All right, okay. So I read it very quickly, and I'm like, okay, my buddy Aaron Portzline said that should Columbus drop 2 spots in the draft, that according to Aaron, the Blue Jackets will draft center Will Smith. And according to Aaron, the Canadiens, if they get the chance, will draft Matvei Michkov. And it appears that Bobrov is very high on Michkov, and he is, the Russian Bedard. Now, when it came across on my social media feed, one of the first titles was, he believes he's the Russian Bedard. That has been removed, all right? It was there yesterday. It's not there today. And so yesterday when I did the show, this is exactly what I said. I said, according to my buddy Aaron. So anyway, we put the clip out this morning, and all of a sudden, I'm getting text messages from everyone. I'm getting phone calls from everyone. And I'm running a bunch of errands this morning. And I'm like, okay, what in the world's going on here? So I see it, and it's like, okay. And then I see a tweet from Aaron who basically says something to the effect of, I'm a big fan of Tony Marinaro. I love him, but I never said that type of thing. And I would have did the exact same thing, right? Because Aaron obviously doesn't want to be misquoted. So, look, I don't need anyone today to remind me that website is Fox News, that it's tabloid journalism. But the way I read it, it almost looked like it was fact. But where I was wrong, and this is my mistake, it's on me, is I could have done 2 things. I could have paid more attention to see if it was all in quotations, and it was not in quotations. I could have also picked up the phone and called my buddy Aaron and say, hey, Aaron, did you say this? It was, I think I came across it around 9:30 on my feed. I did the show at 10 o'clock. I was prepping for the show, and that's that. So no one to blame but myself, because the way I read it, I thought Aaron was being quoted. Instead, it looked that way, but there are no quotes, so it's not the case. And obviously the person running the website wanted to make a splash and maybe bait 1 or 2 people in, and I guess I fell for it. But by all means, folks, I wasn't thinking that website was giving me a scoop. I was thinking that website picked up something that Aaron said that I missed. Aaron, so that's that. I'm sorry if I caused you any inconvenience today, and your phone was ringing off the hook as well, or your Twitter was lighting up.
Well, you caused me a chuckle, if anything. And I'll say this. I've been accused of saying a lot worse things I never said than that. So no big deal. Just like it's pretty hard right now to say Michkov to anywhere because we don't know where Montreal's picking. The lottery's not till May 8th. I'm lucky to keep track of what or trying to figure out what the Blue Jackets are going to do, much less dabble with Montreal. And in case, the Montreal Canadiens assistant director of amateur scouting is wondering where the hell this report came to, he may be wondering where this came from too.
Yeah,
I've never spoken to him as well. Sure, he's a nice guy. I'd like to talk to him sometime, of course, but all is good. Another day on Twitter. Rock on. We move on.
Yeah. And it's funny because on Fridays, I usually want to detach.
Yes.
And today was Friday, and I couldn't detach because I was getting all of this stuff. But anyway, it's all good. When I worked radio for 20 years, and now I've been working podcasting for about 2.5 full time since May of last year. So it's almost going to be a year. I said before, and I said again, I think I got the best job in the world. I love what I do because there are so many great times, great shows, great hours, great days. And there's a couple of days per year where, the job's not that enjoyable and you somewhat, you don't like it for about a moment or two. For me, today was one of those days because I was feeling the wrath of everyone. You're not an insider. You're just a loudmouth and stuff like that and whatever. And you're wrong about this and you're wrong about that. And people chose to remind me what I've been wrong about. No one's ever said what I'm right about. But today was one of those days, It was one
shake it off, T. Shake it off. You'll be all right.
Yeah. No, I'm good. It's funny because the criticism comes in from a bunch of people who say, you're no, I have access to the owner. I have access to the GM. I have access to the assistant. I have access to the scouts. I have access to the coaches and stuff like that. But I know nothing. They know more than me. It's all good. Hey, that site, they have a lot of success with that kind of journalism.
Sure.
And that's called clickbait. And I read it fast. I thought it was coming from you. They didn't put quotations, so they're off the hook. And it's one of those days. It's all good.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's going to happen. Move on. You're good.
Yeah. Well, so now listen. So what you did say is that should the Blue Jackets drop 2 spots, that in your opinion, they'll draft Will Smith. Before we get into that, I'll ask you this.
Yeah.
Is part of that basically you looking at the roster, the depth chart, the prospects, and seeing that they're thin at center going forward?
I would look at it the other way because I don't. Jarmo Kekalainen has been scouting for a long time, and one of his credos is to never draft by your depth chart. I think he looks at it the other way, that this draft is so good with centers, and the Blue Jackets are in this spot where they are, that you grab one while you can. I also think that Michkov's contract to them is a concern. For sure now he's got 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it go from there? He's not articulated that part. The first part's been articulated by a lot of people. They don't want to wait 2 years to get a kid here. Now, if you're guaranteed it's going to be a Kirill Kaprizov type player, of course you wait if there's a clear line between that player and the next guy. I think they love Will Smith. I think a lot of scouts love Will Smith. And I'm not sure. I think they're probably on some boards where Smith might be higher than Carlson in the 3 spot.
Wow. Yeah, because by most accounts, I mean, a lot of people have, of course, Bedard at 1, Adam Fantilli at 2, Leo Carlson at 3. Like on most people's lists, that's the list. Will Smith is a top 5 pick on most people's lists. And you know what? It's funny because we're going to get back to Michkov. Of the times that I've seen him, I love his talent.
Sure.
I think he's the second best pure talent of the draft. And on any given Sunday, he could actually match the guy who is the best. And sometimes maybe even a little bit more. All right. Having said that, it's funny because we're talking about Bobrov. I don't know whether or not Bobrov likes Michkov. I've never had a conversation with him about that. My gut My gut tells me that if Michkov is available, the Canadians will pass. That's what my gut tells me. Now, I would imagine, based on everything that's going on in Russia, that not only the Canadians will pass, others will pass. Usually, if there's a team that is very, very deep with prospects, they're willing to take a chance.
Sure.
But a team that's going to draft 4th or 5th or 6th, and there's so many good players and there's such a good draft,
right?
They can't waste that pick, right? And what if he never comes over? And I believe he will. But, there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on, of course, in Russia and everything that happened. And unfortunately, he lost his dad tragically less than a month ago and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that are being said, and, he might not come over.
And to me, the concern is for sure his contract, and does he come over, as you said. I think the other concern is what is going on in Russia in 2 years. And this is a country that is at war right now. This is a country that is fighting a war against Ukraine, but Ukraine has considerable support from the West. Who knows where this goes, and who knows what happens to Russian players that are in Russia. I'm not predicting anything. I'm predicting that we don't know what it's going to look like in 2 years. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, have you had a chance to meet and chat with the assistant director of amateur scouting of the Columbus Blue Jackets, former Montreal Canadiens director of amateur scouting, Trevor Timmins?
We've exchanged pleasantries. He was hired last summer at development camp. My point guy for the draft is Vili Sirin. Ton of conversation with Chris Clark, former Blue Jackets player, former Washington Capitals captain. I suspect he'll be a general manager in this league soon.
Yeah.
So those are kind of my guys. Timmins is a guy I don't know particularly well, but we have exchanged hellos. Yes.
The Columbus Blue Jackets and the Montreal Canadiens have something in common. Besides, finishing in the bottom 5. You know what that is?
Neither has won the Stanley Cup since 1993.
You're right about that. Another thing that they share in common is that they both had a very much injury-plagued season. The Blue Jackets, 545 man games lost, which is second most in the National Hockey League to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's big. It's big injuries too. This is not the 7th D-man going down. This is Zach Werenski. Yeah. They're everything, right? This is Jake Voracek, their leading point guy last year. This is their number 1 goalie, Elvis Merzlikins, out of the lineup 4 times. This is Patrick Laine out of the lineup 4 times. Boone Jenner out of the lineup twice. Jake Bean, who was probably a 4-5 guy, gone for the year. I mean, they at one point, Tony, at the end of the season, they were dressing a lineup that would not have been legal if it were a preseason game because it didn't meet the NHL's requirement of 8 veteran players.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a game against Pittsburgh, they had 11 guys who have not played 100 games in the NHL, 4 of them making their NHL debut.
Wow.
It was a mess. And
not one Columbus Blue Jacket played all 82 games this year. Not one.
Yeah, no. I think Gaudreau played the most, or Andrew Peak.
Hey, a couple of questions before we get to the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes, Andre Tourigny, which we'll get to him in less than 5 minutes' time. But now that I have you on, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk to you about Johnny Gaudreau, who, by all accounts, had a pretty good season, 74 points in 80 games. But if you compare it to a year ago, he picked up 115 points in a system that a lot of people thought was a lot more defensive for a much more defensive-minded coach. So knowing, he led the Blue Jackets in points, but knowing what he did a year ago, how satisfied or not is the fan base with Johnny Hockey's season?
Yeah, well, nobody's satisfied with anything, but I think Johnny's one of the few guys that gets a pass. I think he traded teams. He also traded Elias Lindholm for Boone Jenner, right? And Kachuk for mostly Patrick Laine, but also Kirill Marchenko. He and Laine, maybe most disturbingly, the two of them just did not click, like oil and water. Maybe that's the center. Boone Jenner played pretty well with Gaudreau at times, had 26 goals. Nobody thinks Boone is a number 1 center. Nothing against him. He's been playing up in the lineup now for 3 seasons. But Gaudreau hasn't really found a fit here. that's why this draft looms so large. They've had centers that they think are number one centers before, Ryan Johansson many years ago, Pierre-Luc Dubois a few years ago, haven't been able to hang on to him. Traded Jones, had to trade Dubois because of a trade demand. So they got to get that guy, and they have to keep that guy. It's one of the areas of the ice that they have to fix.
All right, in ending, you just said his name. So everyone watching right now on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, on Twitter Live, call your friends, call your family. Marinaro is going to talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois right now.
Let's go.
The great Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet and Sportsnet.ca said, at 95%, it looks like Dubois is going to end up being a Montreal Canadian when all is said and done. He asked for a trade out of Columbus. He's an RFA at the end of the year. It appears, according to people very close to the situation, that he's always wanted to play for his hometown team. Always. He wants to play for the Montreal Canadiens. You know him well because he was in Columbus for over 3 seasons, albeit he was obviously a younger player than he is now. You saw him at 19, you saw him at 20, you saw him at 21.
Yep.
The Columbus Blue Jackets made him their 3rd pick overall in the draft.
Yes.
Knowing what you saw, knowing what you know, knowing the player he's turned into now,
yes.
Would you have any reservations whatsoever if you were the Montreal Canadiens and Pierre-Luc Dubois wanted to be a Hab going forward?
Oh, God, no. He is a tremendous player. He's a tremendous player, and he wanted to be a Montreal Canadian when he was a Columbus Blue Jacket. This is not a new desire for him. In fact, let me throw this out there. No one has said what changed with Dubois, why he had to leave Columbus. He had just bought a new apartment here. Everything seemed to be going well. He was the number one center. Everyone thinks it was John Tortorella. There's reasons to believe it was not John Tortorella. Anyways, he was expecting, my opinion, an offer sheet from the Canadiens. If you remember, Jarmo Kekalainen made 2 11th-hour trades before the deadline that year, 2 defensemen out the door to clear cap space. The thing with offer sheets is not only do you not want your players signed to one, you want to set off the vibe that you will match it. That's why they talk about it as they do. You don't even want anyone to extend the offer to him, because once they extend it to him, it's too late. Now that contract is signed. You want to fend that off at the pass. That's what those trades were, and I believe that's where the relationship changed. I think Dubois thought he was getting out of Columbus on an offer sheet, and that's where it fell apart.
Wow. All right, so based on what you said when you said tremendous center, because we know that he can play wing as well, in your opinion,
yes,
a better center than a winger?
Oh, no question. No question. A ferocious face-off guy, great net front presence. He is a large, immovable man in front of the net. He is a centerman and a force. Yes.
That one shift that has done the rounds of YouTube, you know the one I'm talking about, of course, where he went on for like 30 seconds, and no one has ever appeared more disinterested in the puck or the game or what was going on than him on that particular shift.
Yes.
Was that a one-off or are there drops in intensity?
Yeah, that was literally a one-off, because he literally took that shift and they sent him off the ice and traded him. He never played again. That was his trade demand. He had made a trade request. That was, this isn't moving fast enough for me. Here's what I'm going to do.
Oh, wow.
And that's why they were left no choice. Jarmo Kekalainen has been asked this since then. Why didn't you tell him, no, I'm not trading my number one center? And he felt that it had become so toxic with that shift between Dubois in the room. Players loved that kid. They could not look past that act. Like that's going a step too far. A lot of players believed. Jarmo felt he needed to remedy that situation immediately. He may regret it.
That's unreal. Like I had heard a few rumblings. I never heard it quite said like that. Yeah. In ending, his talent, his potential, in your opinion, what are we looking at here?
I think he is on a really good team. He is a 30, 50, 80 guy.
If you look at Nick Suzuki, who's the number one centerman of the Montreal Canadiens, and you look into your crystal ball, and I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here, but you're a big boy. I know you can take it. In terms of potential, give or take, like Suzuki, more, a little bit less?
Well, I don't pretend to know Suzuki's skill set quite as well. I mean, I know he's a really talented player. I don't think these guys ever go out of style. The big guys, everyone gets tired. Big guys don't shrink, is a saying that I've been told for many, many years. He is a physically imposing guy. If I had those two guys, I don't give a damn who's one or two. They're one or two in whatever order you want to slice it. And it's matchups from night to night. I would think more of them as both top six guys, and let the line mates and how they gel with those guys figure that out, and what the matchups on a nightly basis do. I think Montreal, there's no reason you can't have both of those guys and have them as interchangeable parts in your top six. But which, I mean, look what some of these other great teams can do. I don't know if you have to number them that way or not. I think both of those guys can be number one, but what a 1-2 punch that would be for Montreal.
Aaron, thanks so much for taking the time to join me tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, T. Good chatting with you, man.
All right. If I'm ever going to call you going forward, I'll call you, even if it's a minute before the show.
You got it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, take care. All right. Okay. The great Aaron Portzline, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for The Athletic. There you have it. That was Pierre-Luc Dubois' way of saying, I put in a trade request and it's not moving fast enough. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the shift off and appear totally disinterested, and you're going to have no other choice to trade me. It doesn't happen that often in hockey. It does happen in soccer, as a matter of fact, that players can really dictate where they want to go. And if it's not done fast enough, they'll go out there and they'll dog it. And then you'll say, you know what? No use in keeping a player who doesn't want to play for us. I would keep a coach like Andre Tourigny, because you know what? He is a gamer all the time, even in a season that didn't produce maybe the results that you would have wanted, or maybe the results that were expected. The Arizona Coyotes are a rebuilding team. He joins me right now, right here on the Sick Podcast. Coach, how are you?
Very good. What about you, Tony?
Very good. You know what I love about you? I'm going to tell you what I love about you. You just finished meeting with the media in Arizona, right? You had a very long season. You had training camp, preseason, the regular season, all that stuff. It finishes 82 games. And you are called upon now to be the head coach of Team Canada at the World Hockey Championships, which we'll discuss in the next little while here, okay? So now you got on a plane this morning, I believe. You were supposed to leave yesterday, I think. Was that the case? You're supposed to leave yesterday?
Yeah, I left actually Wednesday at 12:30 Arizona time. But there were weather problem in Colorado, so the plane was delayed, and I missed the connection to Montreal.
All right, okay. And you finally ended up getting that connection today. Is that it?
Yeah, I got the connection 24 hours later, and I arrived at 2 a.m. last night.
So here you are. You're at home in La Belle Province in our beautiful city. You're on vacation, and you have this guy, Tony Marinaro, on the Sick Podcast, who's asking you to go on the podcast. And you could easily say, no, Tony, go to hell. Leave me alone. I'm on vacation. But you say, sure, Tony, I'll come on with you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure, Tony.
All right. And congratulations on being named head coach of Canada's team at the World Hockey Championships. We'll jump into it. This is you did it. You were there last year as an assistant to Claude Julien, and you got to the finals and you lost 4-3 in overtime versus Finland. Yeah. I know every experience is a learning experience, but even when we talk about that 1 year later, like, do you feel pain or?
Yeah, I feel pain. And to complete the story, the year before we won, but the same way. We beat Finland in overtime in the final. So it will be my third year. So I 2 years ago was with Gerard Gallant, and we're in the bubble in Latvia, and we won in overtime in the final. And last year Finland beat us in their own barn in temporary in the final in overtime on the power play. So absolutely, it's when you do all that road and you lost in overtime the last game, for sure there's a sour taste of it. But at the same time, there's a lot of pride of the road you had to do to get there. So there's good and bad, but like in our country, there's one color medal we won.
You're right about that. All right, okay. So your coaching staff. Talk to me about your staff.
It will be it will be Alex Tanguay who will work with us. Tango is working Detroit. I had the opportunity to coach Alex when we were in Colorado. We always stayed in contact. He's a really smart. I always say he's a hockey genius. He's really smart, really detailed. He's passionate by the game, and he has an opinion. He has a lot of leadership. Obviously, won Stanley Cup as a player, played more than 1,000 games, been in championship team, won gold medal for Canada before. So he has a lot of pedigree, and will be DJ Smith, who I worked with last year at the World Championship. The guy with a lot of passion. He's a coach, players coach. The player love him. He relate really well with the player. Former defenseman, run a really good PK in Ottawa all those years. He was doing the same job with the Leafs with Mike Babcock. So yeah, he's a PK specialist, really good on it. So I think we have a really good staff there. And Troy Ryan, who's the Olympic coach for the women Olympic Canadian team, who has a lot of experience on the international level. And James Emery, who's the video coach who I work with at the World Junior and the World Championship, will be with us. So I really like all the assets we have on our coaching staff. I think we touch a little bit of every part of the game, and that's what's a really important ingredient for me.
I've read a lot of articles from the Arizona papers. Your players absolutely love you. They talk about you as a player's coach. They say that you're great with building relationships. You always come around. You always ask the guys, what are you doing? What did you do last night? What are you doing for fun? What are you doing later on today? You have this open door policy. Players can come in at any time. And now you're talking to me about the staff that's going with you at the World Hockey Championships. You're going to have a camp in Hungary on the 5th of May, by the way. You're going to play your opening game on May 12th versus Latvia. And, you know, in talking about your staff, it's that extension that we see of those relationships. You talked about a relationship with Alex Tanguay. He impressed you when he was a player. You didn't forget that. You know, you worked with DJ Smith last year at the World Hockey Championships. He caught your eye. He impressed you. You liked working with him. You didn't forget that, and you go and you bring these guys with you to experience this. I think it's pretty awesome.
You know, people sometimes say, "Oh, it's who you know." Well, wait a minute. Oh, put that in perspective. You have a once in a lifetime opportunity. Who you bring? The guy you don't know, or your guy you know he will do the job because he did it in the past with you, and you went in the trenches with him.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like if it's a tryout and if it doesn't work, no big deal. No, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't know if I will ever have another opportunity to represent my country. I don't know if I will ever be the head coach of a national team ever again. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's the urgency I want to approach it. So if you have an opportunity to work with someone, you know when you will be in the trenches, he will fight with you and he will fight the right way, and you can trust him. That's and it's the same thing when Ken Hughes made his selection for his head coach in Montreal. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity for him. It's not like being GM of the Montreal Canadiens. It's a summer job, and if it doesn't work next summer, I will do it differently. No, it's a once in a lifetime. So you pick someone, you trust someone, you know. So that's what he did. And it's same thing for me.
I want to talk to you about Marty St. Louis in just a second, but before I do, you brought up Alex Tanguay's name on a couple of occasions now. More and more, I'm hearing that he's a real student of the game. You talked about when you were the assistant coach of the Colorado Avalanche, and he played for that team. Did you know right then and there, based on the conversations you had, based on the way he conducted himself, some of the ideas that he shared, that this guy was going to be behind an NHL bench one day?
That was no doubt in my head. It was just a matter of does he want to do it or not, because we all know coaching, it's a huge commitment. It's a hell of a commitment in terms of personal commitment. But just to tell you how smart is Tango, I was in charge of the penalty killing then. And when I was planning the strategy, let's say we're playing Nashville, whatever, and I thought we had to do something different than what we do against every other team. When my plan was in place, I was going to talk to Alex Tanguay. I was going to talk to Ryan O'Reilly. That was the two guys. And for sure, our goalie, Varlamov. And I was going to Tango, and I was saying, Tango, I think we should do this and this differently. What do you think about it? And Tango was capable of telling me that will work, or was capable of telling me, it's not everybody who will be able to read that bear, because there's not everybody in the team who can read that. I knew Tango will be able to read it. O'Reilly will be able. Paul Stastny will be able to read that. But it's not only those guys who play PK.
Wow.
And he was telling me, and he was capable of telling me those things. It was the same a little bit with Ryan O'Reilly. Ryan was not as communicative, but he was capable of telling me, no, that the guys won't be able to do that, or that will work. So he's more. He's not a talker much. Ryan O'Reilly, we're calling him a factor. Factor was not a loud talker, but he knew. So that's how smart is Alex Tanguay.
You talked about Marty St. Louis.
Yeah.
Do you analyze from afar and sometimes up close when you're going head to head versus another team and another coach, the work that other coaches do and try and pick up on some of the things that they're doing? And in season, does it exist in season that coaches will talk to each other and maybe share a few ideas, certain things on opponents, anything like that? Does that happen at all?
It never happened to me. I never had that kind of discussion with any coach in the NHL about what they do, what they don't do. No, that never happened.
There are clinics in the off season though, right?
Yeah,
there are clinics,
absolutely.
and some coaches, they don't like saying what they know, right? Because
but it's normal. You can't. I can tell you how we play in the D zone. I will tell you everything you already know. I won't tell you the rest.
I hear you.
I can't. It's like, what's your favorite restaurant? You think they will really tell you the secret of their secret spice and really how they do their sauce or whatever? No. They will say, if you want to buy, I will sell it to you, but I won't give it to you. And it's just normal. It's a competitive environment. This restaurant wants to be better than the other one. It's the same thing for a coach. I will tell you everything they see when they watch my team, but the rest, I will keep the few things for me. That's for sure, and that is why when you do those clinics during the summer, coach wants more to talk about different topic or more psychology, culture, those kind of things, than going in X and O's. Because if you go, if you look, like Martin said, we talk a lot about his concept. Oh yeah, did he ever explain to you his concept?
No,
he won't. And if you dig in, he will tell you about what it is. We're looking for space. We want to read the game, but he will not tell you exactly what it is and how he teach it. And it's okay. That's my job, to watch his team and figure it out what he's talking about and what they do special and how they do their thing.
Marty St. Louis has proved a lot of people wrong. Again, before as a player, now as a coach. You know what? When the decision was made to hire him, when the announcement was made, I mean, I didn't doubt him, because I said, based on what this guy's done in his career, I'm not betting against this guy, okay? I'm betting on this guy, and I'm happy I did, to tell you the truth. But what has most impressed you? Because when he was hired, you heard what people were saying. The Canadians just hired a guy who coached at the bantam level. It can't be. There were a lot of coaches in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League who were offended that the Montreal Canadiens went to get someone who didn't go through the ranks and was only coaching his son's bantam team. Based on what you've seen, out of all of his qualities, what's the one thing that really catches your attention? You say, you know what? Good.
I will be really honest with you, Tony, because it's not like I follow Montreal Canadiens, and it's no offense to the Montreal Canadiens, but if I have a night where I watch an Eastern team, I'll probably watch Tampa Bay, or I will probably watch Toronto, or any top-end team. It's just normal. I'm guaranteed if Martin St. Louis wants to pick up some stuff, he's not watching the game of the Yotes. He's watching the games of the LA Kings or Colorado Avalanche or whatever.
I hear you.
And like I said, that doesn't mean all those team who were the Boston Bruins the season they had. They might play tonight against Montreal, so I will watch that game. But I will not say, hey, I need to know how Columbus is playing, and I will pick a game of Columbus and watch. That's just not the way it happened. But having that said, we play as well against Montreal early in the season. So I did not have the opportunity to study him as much. What I like but I will answer your question. I did not study him, but I like the way his player talk about him. I like the fact his player likes to play with him. They talk highly about him, and that is, for me, it's a sign. I always say something, and I say that to my player, to my manager, to my owner. The player knows. They know. If you want to know, ask the player, they know. They know who's tough to play again, who's a good player, who's the best face-off guy, who's the heaviest player in the league, who has the most hockey sense. You cannot fool the player. The player, they live it. They're in the trenches. They know. So I believe his player know. And the last year I was at the World Championship, and there were a few players from Montreal Canadiens, and they like him. They like to play for him, and that's what I like the most about Marty.
And you would have liked to have added him to your staff?
Yeah, I absolutely. When they ask me names, not necessarily in order, but they ask me names of guys I would love to. Marty was high in a sense of the quality I talked to you about for Alex Tanguay. I think all those qualities are as well true for Martin Saint-Louis, a guy with a lot of hockey sense, who can run the power play, who relate really well with the player, who's really smart, student of the game, who won Stanley Cup, won a gold medal, represent his country before. He
checks a lot of boxes.
He checks a lot of boxes, all of them. So
yeah.
He was one of the guys. But just to make it clear, I'm not a guy. When you work for Hockey Canada, you don't decide what's your staff.
I understand.
The only thing they ask me is what do we need to fill up your staff to be effective for you? And I said it before, when an offensive guy was an offensive instinct, who can run the power play, who played the game, has been in the trenches, those kind of thing. And same thing on the back end with the PK, the quality and stuff like that. So I think you cannot have three guys offensive minded in the same staff. That will not be a good balance. You need to have a little bit of everything.
What a sick podcast we're having tonight with Andre Tourigny. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different, and also brought to you in part by Tibi, brewed in Quebec and a winner of a dozen international awards. Tibi offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. Tibi, embrace your true nature. All right, this year, your second year as head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. What's the one thing out of all the things that you learned this year in your second year, or you believe you improved greatly?
Wow, that's a good question.
I ask good questions, Bear.
Yeah, that's another good one. I learned again. Tony, my personality and my style of coach is we second guess everything all the time, and. This year was a tough schedule for us, starting 20 of the 24 on the road. And we had a stretch in January where we played 19 games in 35 days and stuff like that. And to manage the schedule, manage the energy level, the load management, I think that's one thing our high-performance group did a really good job to advise us through that stretch. And that was, I think, as successful as it can be. I'm not saying it was perfect, because I don't think with that kind of adversity in terms of the schedule, I don't think you can be perfect. But I think we did not end up with injury. We were really, knock on wood, really low in injury, even through those really tough times. So I think that is probably something we're really proud of.
Yeah. Coach, by the way, is there a reason why you think your team was, because not all injuries are luck or bad luck or no luck, but is there something that you were doing that you think that was really helped in avoiding injuries? Or
Well, we have
I'm asking
belief.
for a friend who has injury problems.
Yeah, but I know Adam Douglas, who was the high performance director for Montreal, and he's a really competent guy. So I'm far from me to tell him how he do his job and everything. Is the reverse. He can taught me a lot about that. But I had my same belief when we were with the 67s, and we had the same kind of luck, I will say. But for us, training in season is huge. We train a lot. We train after every game. We train every day, basically. That's our belief. And for me, training it's not for when you're injured. It's for injury prevention. It's to keep the muscle mass and keep the power and keep everything healthy. And we practice way less this year than we did the year before. But one thing we never stop is training in season. And for us, it's a huge belief. And now, like Tony, technology, it's unreal. We have there's nothing the guy we don't have metrics on.
Yeah.
They can go for their stretch or a light ride on the bike or a hard practice or a skill session or whatever it is. We have metrics. We have measure their speed, measure their stamina, their recovery. We have.
Wow.
It's really, really advanced. So I think for us, we believe a lot in training in season. And I know a lot of team things during the season. Player need to rest, and it's not mandatory, but for us it is. Everybody train.
Wow. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Coach, let me ask you, why did it take so long to trade Jacob Chychrun? I mean, I think his name was out there for about a year. At one point, we were hearing it looked like it was going to get done. Los Angeles is done. Ultimately, you end up trading them to Ottawa. You get 3 draft picks in return. You get a first round, a second round, and another second round in different years. But it just seemed like...
As the other 31 team.
Yeah.
The price did not change. So this for us, the offer wasn't there. There were one offer at the draft last year, and when the GM called the agent to say, "Hey, we're about to make pull the trigger in a trade for your player," the chick did not want to play there. So he said, "Yeah, it's not where I want to go." So from there, the team could have made the trade. He had no trade clause. But do you want to pull the trigger on that kind of a trade when the players say, "I don't want to play in your city"? No, you don't. So the GM just said, "Well, you know what? We'll pass." So it was just a matter of having the offer was matching what we wanted. And Billy was really clear. What we wanted is 2 first-round pick and a second. And at the end, we decided to go. We had 2 firsts and a second, but it were 2 late pick, and we needed to take some money back in the trade. And the trade with Ottawa, we thought will give us a quality first round pick, and that's what we were looking for. If we can get a pick between 10 and 20, it's better than getting 2 picks at, let's say, 28. That's what Billy was thinking, and he didn't want quality over quantity, so that's why he went with the offer of Ottawa.
Hey, speaking of picks, this is before you were there, of course, but Clayton Keller, 7th overall in his draft year, 86 points this year for you guys. Wow. I mean, there were games where this guy looked like Connor McDavid.
Yeah, saying that is even better than people think. Seriously, he is. Yeah.
Wow.
That
draft. Pardon me. Was it Puljujarvi? Puljujarvi went 4th that draft.
Okay.
Juolevi went 5th. Matthew Tkachuk went 6th. Yeah. Good pick.
Okay.
And Clayton Keller went 7th. And there were a couple of other picks later on in the draft that were good too. Montreal picked Sergachev at 9, and Boston picked Charlie McAvoy at 14. That's an amazing pick. But Clayton Keller at 7, that's an awesome pick.
Oh, yeah. He is really good. He's really driven, and he works really hard, and he wants to be even better. He's a great guy. Honestly, I said it. I don't think he hit the ceiling yet. I think he still have room, and he's. You're not the first one who told me that this year. There's a lot of guys who watch us play say, this guy is much better than I thought. I will give you an example. John Madden, who was assistant coach for us, the year before he was in San Jose.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the season, he was kind of, oh yeah, okay, I know he's a pretty good player. And then at some point, he told us he's much better than I thought. He's a hell of a player. I said, yeah,
wow.
He is. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Hey, earlier this season, was it Mason McTavish was having a chat with James Duthie, and he admitted to him that no, pardon me, it was Connor Bedard was having a chat with James Duthie, and he admitted to him that he says to James Duthie says to him, he says, you see the teams at the bottom, is there anywhere you want to go? And he says, no, I'll go anywhere, right, in the draft. Yeah. And then he said, he said, well, Mason McTavish calls me like after, every loss there, or he'll send me a text message and stuff like that. I don't know. I heard that. And Mason McTavish is a great player. Connor Bedard's a great player. They have chemistry together. They're amazing at the under 18s, obviously.
Yep.
But when you hear that, I mean, a lot of fans talk about tanking. They wonder whether it exists. Obviously, players don't tank. We know that. They're all wired to win. They want to win. But when you hear something like that, what are your thoughts?
Well, I hope Mason will have to learn to play against Connor, because I hope Connor will play for the best Yotes. That's what I hope. That's what I think. But whoever, I think the player know. Example, a guy like Connor Bedard is coming. And at the beginning, they did not know how good he was. There's a lot of noise every year, and obviously we're junior and all of it, and they know. But what people sometimes don't understand is how short is an NHL player career. Some guys will play 2-3 years in the league, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for them to tank for 2 years. Okay, now you asked me to tank for 40% of my NHL career.
I hear you.
So people say, tanking. Yeah, player has no interest in that. And even, let's say you talk about Keller. Keller will have, is arriving in the prime of his career. That's tank. Well, yeah, that's tank and make 86, 7 points. That's the tanking he did want to do. He did not want to have an off year for the pleasure of tanking. So the player are in the present. It's always discussion I have with my GM.
Yeah.
It's what can we do today? What can we do today? What's the ceiling of that player? Look at where we want to bring him and what we have to do today to get closer to that goal and to have a long-term vision. Yeah. But our job is today to make sure we do everything we can do to get this plan to fruition, towards this goal. But we cannot start looking and in 4 years we want to compete for the Stanley Cup. That's no. My job is today.
Yeah, having said that, I think the Arizona Coyotes are going through a rebuild. The Montreal Canadiens are going through a rebuild. We know that. Kent Hughes said something interesting this year, which I so appreciated his honesty, by the way. I thought it was amazing. He said something to the effect of, losing many games in a row is not a good thing. And going on an extended winning streak wouldn't be a good thing either, right? So he was very honest about it. I think it was awesome. Yeah. But, so we know that GMs have a plan, and they might think for their plan to work out, a team's got to be in a rebuilding phase for a couple of years. Coaches, they want to go out there and they want to outcoach the other coach, and they want to get the best out of their players, and they want to score more goals than the other team, and they want to flat out win the game. Yeah. How difficult is it when the GM wants the team to rebuild, but you, the coach, the ultimate competitor, you're thinking about now, you're not thinking about tomorrow, you want to win that game? How tough is it to balance this?
For me, it's extremely easy. Extremely easy. My job is to make the most of what I get. If I get enough to win, that's your problem as a GM. If you don't want us to win, just figure it out to make sure we're not good enough to win. That's your problem. It's not my problem. My problem is to get those guys, the 20 guys you give me who's playing tonight, and get the best out of them. And if the best is too good and allowed us to win, that's not my problem. That's not my job. My job is to get the best of my player. And the day a GM will hire me and will say, you need to get 75% of your player, because if you get 100% of them, it will be too good for what we're trying to do. I will say I'm not the right guy for the job, because I don't know how to do that.
I'm not asking you this about Arizona, but I want to ask you in general, your thoughts on something now. Does it happen that a GM will suggest to a coach to play a certain player on a certain line? No.
Cannot happen. Cannot happen, Tony. You know why? Because what I told you earlier in the podcast, who knows? I told you, if you want to know what's going on, who should you ask?
The players know.
The players. So the day I play Tony Marinaro on the first line with Barrett Eaton and Clayton Keller, the guy will look at me and say, okay, you're a loser. You're not trying to win here. And then I'm done.
I might surprise you, don't make my physique. Don't judge a book by its cover.
No, but
By the way, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm happy to say. I'm not in the best shape of my life, but I'm happy to say that this morning I got on the scale and I'm under 250 for the first time in 7 years.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
congrats, my friend. Congrats. But you know what I mean. The player will say, "Well,
there's one or two more things I want to get to." I have to ask you about Connor McDavid. I mean, PK Subban said the other night on ESPN that Connor McDavid could seriously be making a case right now to be considered the best player ever after the season that he had, playing in the National Hockey League at the level that he played, scoring the goals that he scored, picking up the points that he did in 2023 in a young man's league that is so fast and so skilled. You had a chance to see him many times. By the way, I think you did a great job against them in certain games that I watched down the stretch. Like you did as good a job as you could have with the team that you had.
I agree.
You told me Clayton Keller is a really good hockey player. He's better than a lot of people think. Everyone knows that Connor McDavid is great. How great is he, Coach?
He's fabulous, but I will never get in the best player ever. I think Michael Jordan said it best. You cannot compare Michael Jordan with Jerry West or whatever, Chris Russell or whatever, Will Chamberlain. They never played against each other. You don't know. Technology, training, everything changed.
Equipment.
So equipment, toughness in the game. Hey, you think LeBron will have survived playing against Dennis Rodman the way MJ had to do it when he was going at the basket and he was getting knocked out and physical and elbow in the head all the time? LeBron never had to go through that. Never. How will he react? Nobody knows. Maybe he will have been better than Jordan. Maybe he will have been worse. We don't know. So for me, it's an unfair debate. For Connor McDavid is the best player of his era. Perfect. Good. I'm good with that. Wayne Gretzky was the best of his era, and Mario was the best at his time, and those are okay. We can say that. Who was the best and all those?
Sidney Crosby after that.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby after that. Bobby Orr at some point, and whatever.
Guy Lafleur for 6 years.
Exactly. So they were the best at that moment.
By the way,
I can stand by that. Who was the best?
We're an hour away from being April 22nd.
Yeah.
And that is the 1 year anniversary of Guy Lafleur's passing. God love him.
Yeah,
what did he mean to you?
Well, for me, those guys, I will put Guy, Mr. Béliveau, all the Rocket, all those guys. They met loyal. They met all in for the team. They were all great teammates and champion, and I will put Larry Robinson, Serge Savard in those categories. For me, they meant ultimate teammate and warrior and winners and everything I cherish in my life. I want to be loyal. I want to fight for a cause. I want to fight for my teammates, for the people I love, my family, and that. And for me, those guys, integrity, pride, the pride and the feeling of belonging towards the Montreal Canadiens is absolutely amazing, and something it's fueled me with pride and respect.
Beautiful. Two more quick ones, and I know I kept you a long time. I so appreciate your time today. Next time I call you, you could tell me, Tony, go to hell. You kept me on too long. All right, okay. Logan Cooley. He was Arizona's third pick overall last year at the draft. He had a great season. I know. I would imagine you've kept some tabs on him, and you asked around. What are you hearing? What have you been told, and what can you tell us? I mean, his skills are off the charts.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He has pushback as well. He plays hard. He's physical when it's time. Even if he's not a big guy, he goes in traffic, he goes at the net, and he has pushback. He has character. Really, he has speed. He's a really good player. He will be good for a long time for us.
Fantastic. In ending, some people don't want to put themselves out there when we talk about a young player because they say, you know what? I'm not going to tell you what a junior player is going to be. But if I were to ask you about Connor Bedard, what kind of career Connor Bedard will have barring injury, and if he plays to his potential, you see what?
Well, he will be phenomenal. He will be
generational. Generational?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
generational, for sure.
For no doubt in my head. You know, and there's a part, okay, you can look at his game and you can find weakness. Like, I remember, I will put that in that way. I remember draft year of Connor McDavid. Oh, is he that good? I thought he will make more points this year. I did not bring his team to a championship. Come on. Connor McDavid was. We were looking for a reason to doubt him. Why doubting him? And it's the same thing, Connor Bedard. Look, his number first guy ever to have the exceptional status in the dub. Everybody was saying it was a mistake. I had friends in the dub who said, "Oh, he's too small. They should have not done that." He crushed the league, and then people say, "Oh, it's tough to play as an underage at the World Junior." Even Connor McDavid struggled. The kid arrived and he burned everybody. He clinched every record, and then he came back in his draft year, and it's tough to play at the draft year. There's a lot of pressure. Thanks God, you struggle. He beat everybody in every race, even in the playoff. Everybody was saying, "Oh, Regina, they have no chance." Thanks God, he had no chance. He brought a really good team in 7. He made number of points, and his plus and minus is off the chart and all of it. Why doubting him? Which argument can I have to talk to you, Tony, and say, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what. There's no doubt in my head.
Thank you so much. I'm going to tell you the two things I love about you the most. Number one, in no particular order here, you always make time for people. And I think that's a great quality, and you know, I compliment you on that. Number two, I love how much you love the game, because here we are on a Friday night, 11:04 p.m. Eastern time. It's your first day pretty much of vacation, even though you're going to be getting back to work pretty soon here. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a great night. There you have it. The head coach of the Arizona Coyotes, Andre Tourigny. All right. Okay. To Michael and Natalie that I bumped into last week and said, big fans of the podcast and stuff like that, but I missed a couple of shows last week. And I said, why? You know, we had to do some spring cleaning around the house, and we had to clean some things outside. We had to get everything in order, and it took a lot of time, and things were a mess, and this and that and whatever. Michael and Natalie, I have something for you, because today, look where I went. Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro at VPR Impex, 16641 Hymas in Kirkland. and I'm with Mario Ruffalo, who's the owner of VPR Impex. They specialize in ecological vapor cleaning systems. Mario, how you doing?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
Very, very good. All right, okay. It's that time of the year, spring cleaning. It's always that time of the year to actually have your home and or business clean, and so that it's spotless, all right? And you are in the business of keeping homes and businesses spotless. You have some commercial machines right behind you, and you have this one here, which is a residential model. Talk to me about your machines, what they do, and then specifically talk to me about the residential model.
So we are dry ecological vapor cleaning. Difference between vapor and steam. Steam is wet, vapor is dry. We're able to clean, disinfect, and deodorize any surface in the home or in businesses. So that we work on the premise of cleaning and disinfection without the use of any chemicals.
Fantastic stuff. Okay, this is a very popular model, the Vapore D50. I know you also have the Vapore D40 right here behind me. Talk to me about the differences in the two models, and then maybe if you can tell us how easy it is to use one of these things.
Yeah, so the biggest difference between the two is you fill them both with water. The D40 is going to work with a safety cap, so after about 45 to 50 minutes of use, you're going to have to bleed it out and refill it. With the D50, however, you have what we call continuous fill. So in the back, instead of having access to a safety cap, you have access to a cold water reservoir. You add your water and you work. You run out of water, you refill it, and you keep going. So you got no coffee breaks with the D50.
All right, this sounds pretty easy to use. So just elaborate a little bit more on how we would use this.
So you fill it up with regular water, regular tap water, turn on the machine. It's going to take about 12 minutes to heat up. Once it's heated up, you're ready to go. You would connect your hose. You have a variety of attachments which will allow you to clean your floors, your walls, your ceilings, kitchens, bathrooms, mattresses, furniture, detail your car with it. I clean my hockey equipment with it. Your imagination is going to be the limit of how far you can take vapor technology.
All right, so you basically can clean anything with this and no chemicals.
Right.
Off the premise of water and steam.
Water is transformed into vapor at high temperature. So with residential lines, we're working at 120 degrees Celsius, our exit temperature. So at that temperature, we're able to clean and disinfect. And we have scientific certifications on the banners behind me, justifying our claims.
Your family's been in this business for a long time.
Since 1994.
Since 1994. All right, they obviously know what they're talking about. The Vapore D40, the Vapore D50. These products are popular everywhere around the world in terms of ecological vapor cleaning systems, specifically in Europe, and you guys are really spreading the word to North America.
Yeah, we were the first ones. The technology's been around in Italy since the late 70s. We were the first ones to bring real vapor technology to North America in 1994, when my father brought in our first units. And now we began manufacturing our own line. So the Vapore label is our label, and that's our own manufacturing, which is still done in Italy. And we take care of all of North America and South America.
A lot of people don't like cleaning the house and around the house. Now cleaning becomes fast and it becomes fun, and you can do it as a couple. And for all you men out there watching, and I'm sure you're watching with your girlfriend or your wives, huh? Happy wife, happy life. Get her a Vapore D40 or a Vapore D50. Give Mario a call. He's at VPR Impex.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Mario. All right, there you have it. And now, I got one of these. I'm Marinaro. It's the Sick Podcast. Mario, hold the mic for a second. How happy is my wife going to be after cleaning with one of these? Felicità, senti nell'aria c'è già la nostra canzone d'amore che va. I just helped you out, man. Get a Vapore, D40 or D50 at VPR Impex. All right. There you have it. All right. Okay. Welcome back. Okay. Special hello to Mario. As a matter of fact, we go way back about 15 years. We've had one of their previous model cleaning systems before, and now these are some of their newer models. They're absolutely fantastic, and they're great. So VPR Impex, let's bring it up. I'll talk to you about them once again. Vapore Ecological Dry Vapor Cleaning Technology from VPR Impex allows you to clean and disinfect surfaces faster and more efficiently without the need for harsh chemicals for residential and for commercial. And by the way, schools, hospitals, daycares, old age homes, And you saw everything it can clean and sanitize, from your walls to your bed, to your mattress, to your furniture, to your counters, to your fridge, to your stove, to your dishwasher. It even comes with certain attachments, and you can even steam off the and clean the barbecue, and once again without any chemicals. Located at 16641 Hymas in Kirkland. VPRimpex.com is the website, and this is the number at 514-733-2468. Where cleaning has never been easier or more enjoyable. You're absolutely going to love it. You see, man of the people, I bump into a couple of people who say they missed a couple of shows because they had to clean. There were a lot of things to do, and cleaning took a long time. And the gentleman, Michael, that I ran into, he wasn't overly thrilled about having to do the cleaning. He said it wasn't fun. This can be fun. You can do it as a couple, and it's going to be fast, and it's going to be enjoyable, and you're going to recommend it to your friends. You'll see. Thank you, Mario. Appreciate your time. All right, there you have it. We try and help people out here. This is what we try and do. We're going to continue to do stuff like this and trying to help people out, and we'll recommend it. Some really great products going forward. And tonight it's the Vapore D40 and Vapore D50 from VPR Impex. All right, for Agnello and Sammy Cavallaro, and for Matthew O'Hayan, who usually does this on Friday nights, and I was filling in tonight, we're going to be back on Monday night. We'll be back all of next week, same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern. Oh, and by the way, I got confirmation that a Montreal Canadiens player will be joining me next week on Wednesday night. Huh? That'll give you something else to look forward to. Have a great weekend, everyone. Tell your friends about the Sick Podcast. You can watch us live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can listen to us on all social media apps, including Google, Apple, or Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review on the audio part and on the video part if you want to. Like it, share it with your friends, and comment right now. Sick, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K. If you like the podcast, it's our way of feeling the love. You are a Sick Army. You are a Sick community. Special thanks to Aaron Portzline and Andre Tourigny. I'm Marinaro. Have a great night, everyone. It's the Sick Podcast.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature.